Hello, everyone. I am here to preview the Minnesota-Chicago game. And Chicago, they come in at 11-4. They've already clinched the NFC North. They're at least the 3 seed, I believe, and they're gunning for that 2 seed. Offensively, they're 21st in total offense, 344.7 a game, 20th in passing yards at 226.7. They're tied 8th in sacks allowed with 33. 14th in rushing yards at 117.9. They're 27th in yards per carry at 4.1. And they're 14th in third down percentage on the offensive side of the ball at 40%. They're 9th in points per game at 26.5. Defensively, they are 4th in total defense at 308.7 yards a game allowed per game. They're 8th in passing yards allowed per game at 227.6. 5th in sacks with 46 of them. 2nd in rushing yards allowed at 81.1. Tied 4th in yards per carry allowed at 3.8. 4th in third down percentage at 36%. And they're 3rd in points per game allowed at 18.2. Their injury report is Eddie Jackson. He's doubtful with an ankle. Aaron Lynch, pass rusher, doubtful with an elbow. And Allen Robinson, doubtful with a rib injury. Now, Byron Nichols, he's questionable with a knee injury. He's a defensive tackle. And the top 3 didn't practice. So I would consider them very doubtful. Minnesota coming at 8-6-1. Obviously, we know the stakes. Win, you're in. If not, you need help from Philly. And, well, I guess not really Philly. You need help from the Redskins beating Philly. But they are 17th in total offense at 357.7. They are 10th in passing yards at 262.3. 14th in sacks allowed at 36. 30th in rushing yards at 95.3. They're tied for 20th in yards per carry at 4.2. They are 21st in third down percentage at 37%. They are 16th in points per game at 23.3. Defensively, 3rd in total defense at 308.2. 3rd in passing yards allowed at 198.5. They are 1st in sacks with 50 of them. They are 11th in rushing yards allowed at 109.7. They're tied 8th in yards per carry allowed at 4.1. And 1st in third down percentage at 28%. 7th in points per game allowed with 21.1. Now, Minnesota's injury report goes as follows. Chad Beebe out with a hamstring. C.J. Ham, the fullback, out with an elbow. Eric Kendricks still out with that hamstring. Marcus Charles is out with a foot. And Tom Compton, shoulder, he's questionable. And Rhodes is questionable with a groin. Now, Rhodes only practiced on Friday, so he could be closer to doubtful. And if Rhodes can't go, this affects the team in kind of a different way than you would expect, because that means Hill likely won't be able to return the punts because Marcus Charles is out. And I think what we could be looking at is Brandon Zylstra because Chad Beebe also not playing. And this also means Laquan Treadwell will be used again. And the non-statistical things, I got, it likely won't work, but you need to run the ball just to keep them honest, if nothing else. And with Eddie Jackson out, you might be able to manipulate some play-action vertical passing, potentially, because they have been running more. It could be key. Diggs and Thielen are still good to go, and Rudolph had one hell of a game the other day. Well, last week. And so you might be able to take advantage of that with a safety out. And having Remmers and Tom Compton hurt a little bit to begin the game, not ideal. Because we know they already struggle enough as it is. We don't need them hurt going up against Akeem Hicks and Eddie Goldman. That's a problem. And if it isn't a play-action play or a bootleg or anything of that kind of nature, screen passes, slants, just quick pass it. If you're not running the ball, it's not a play action. Do not let Khalil Mack wreck the shop or Akeem Hicks like he did last time. You need to, accommodate for the fact that you can't block them. And we know we can't, so quick passing, try to misdirect them with the play action. And They need to protect Kirk Cousins as long as possible when they do this play action, because otherwise we're giving up sacks, we're giving up turnovers, he's making bad choices, he's throwing to them. Maybe he just drops the ball. We've seen some strip sacks. It's not ideal. So protect Kirk Cousins at all costs, and just no stupid penalties. It seems like the last 3 or 4 games now, they've had these penalties come in on either key downs or third downs where they would get the third down, then all of a sudden they'll have a holding penalty. So then it's like 3rd and 15, and obviously how many times you can get 3rd and 15? Not usually that many, but it seems like that's been happening more lately. Can't shoot yourselves in the foot in a game like this. It's a good team. You need to win it to be in the playoffs. Got issues. Defensively, you need to stop the running game first and foremost and force Mitchell Trubisky to beat you. And I'm hoping they learned from the last go around that you can't fall for the misdirection stuff. And just hope like that got better throughout that game. But I imagine they might come back to some of that stuff because it was working so well for the first, I think, quarter and a half of that game. They might come back to some of that stuff, especially since Eric Kendricks will not be playing. And you could kind of take advantage of that in that way. I think they need to force turnovers in this game, whether that's interceptions, fumbles, or even just from the special teams, even get some kind of kick return, punt return, kind of spark things, or maybe there's a muffed punt somewhere. Some of those lines, because I don't really trust the Minnesota offense to not give them the ball at some point. I don't know how it will happen or when it will happen, but I trust it will probably eventually happen. So kind of need to force them to have turnovers, which all starts with stopping the running game and forcing Trubisky to beat you. Because if they're able to be balanced and keep the defense off balance, that's really not going to happen. And just overall, we kind of need the defense to force them to earn every yard. Just no easy things. Don't let like a 50-yard screen pass happen or just these weird misdirections and all of a sudden we can't tackle them for some reason. That seemed to happen last time too. But none of that kind of stuff. Just make them earn things and kind of force this to be a lower scoring game. I think that caters more to, I guess, both sides. But yeah, special teams, not the normal punt returner, like I mentioned earlier. So always a concern there. And Danny Boy, Danny Boy, need to channel your inner Dallas Cowboy today or Sunday because you came in second all-time leading kicker in accuracy. You haven't really been that. So if we can get your inner Dallas to come out, that'd be great. Every point will be valuable. So my prediction is I don't have Minnesota winning this game. I have Chicago going into Minnesota winning 24-17. And my reasoning is as such. I haven't really seen this Viking team this year win a game when they really needed to win a game. And every time they kind of got close to one of these teams that are in the playoffs, like well into the playoffs, like the Saints, what happened? We lost by 10. There were 2 turnovers that were really key. You're close, but not quite there. I know it was early, but the Rams, once again, the defense wasn't playing very well. Kirk Cousins strip sack, Riley Reeve just ran him right down across. End of game, lose by 7. Patriot game, you're down. Well, it's tied at 10 in the second half. It gets away from them, 24-10. Seahawk game, 6-0. Obviously, a controversial blocked field goal ends up changing the whole outcome of that game, and it goes from 6-0 to 21-7 by the end. Chicago last time, we kind of had a chance to come back, and then a Kirk Cousins pick 6 when it took it back. So, yeah, seems like every time they needed to win a game or just a game against one of these winning teams in the playoffs, there's always something that held them back from doing it. And I'm hoping I'm wrong, obviously, but I haven't seen it yet, so it's hard for me to predict it. And I think the bottom line is this is a playoff caliber team in the Bears. Beat the playoff caliber team, and you deserve to go to the playoffs. If you don't, you really have no business being there because you haven't done so against these other guys that you have played. And that's just how it is. So I'm hoping I'm wrong. I would like to know what you guys think down in the comments below. And until next time, I bid y'all adieu.